What? What? One man against impossible odds in a world. Or something like that. Don LaFontaine, the master of the movie trailer voiceover, is dead. Yes, he really is. And with him passes one of the most imitated catchphrases of the past decade or two. Now, Don may not have actually written the magic words or owned those words in a world, but would any person dare contemplate using them in a movie trailer? I mean, no one would touch Over the Rainbow for 25 years after Judy Garland departed. So what's a reasonable period of time before respectful rhetoric recycling can occur? With an incantation that identifiable, that cliched, open to discussion, who now dares to speak it? In a World is the Lake Bell Show, where, against impossible odds, one woman writes, directs and stars in this trifecta of talent and proves with tonsil tantalizing vocal verisimilitude that a gal can go into bat in a big man's game and make a home run with adept dexterity. If the idea of a rom-com, sorta, between a slightly OCD, domestically dyslexic vocal coach and a geeky audio engineer doesn't appeal to you, it's okay, because that's a very small part of 4 or 5 parallel plots in this movie.
Yeah, I love crafts. What's your favorite craft?
Lake Bell has created a genuinely witty insight into the complex and confused life of her lead character, Carol Solomon, facing some sticky and stifling pressures against battling voiceover artists.
Ready.
Carol has this rather egotistical father, Sam, who just happens to be the man likely to succeed LaFontaine as Tinseltown's tonsil torchbearer, or so he'd like to think. His "I'm doing this for your own good" attitude to his daughter, well, it's barely a mask for the fragile ego and expanded self-importance, and is neatly played by actor and real-life voiceover master Fred Melamed. The support cast do a great job. The sibling bond between Belle and Michaela Watkins playing her older sister is about as real as it gets. The blending, it's right on the money. You get the sense of the discordant history between these two, running very deep and very long without having to say a word about it. There's the creative and very easily distracted Carol and the grounded other sister who was likely a responsible classroom monitor at the age of 10, and she's still doing it. The dynamic between the two women and then the father reveals some well-observed human conditions likely to lead to 22 years in therapy. Ken Marino slithers into the role of Gustav, another overprivileged and overtanned hot jock contending for the big voiceover job. And no, I'm not going to say what the gig is because it's just too much fun to give away. So, will Gustav's fast moves and satin sheets be enough to destabilise our heroine and ensure he snatches the prize for himself? The industry is cutthroat, from the voiceover booth right through to the boudoir.
I just didn't know there was a speech.
Yes, it's a pitch.
Oh,
to
okay.
be precise.
As a true romantic interest to Carol, stand-up comic Dimitri Martin does a really nice job bringing his own brand of geekish, gentle humour into his attempts of wooing. He's immensely likeable in the part. And if you've ever seen Important Things with Dimitri Martin, his own comedy TV series, you might recognise that Martin and Lake Bell have an established history. In fact, she was in the very first episode of the series. In another subplot, Eva Longoria appears as herself in a laugh-out-loud situation involving a champagne cork. Don't ask. Plus, Carol has a pet project, getting grown women to drop the teenage vocal affectations and start talking like grown women. A cameo by Gina Davis is a wake-up call to our feminist-minded heroine that not all the women you meet in the powder room are part of the sisterhood. It's a knockout moment and it puts a whole new spin on everything that's just transpired. It sounds like a bit of overload, right? 5.5 movies in one trying way too hard. But here's where it's just so darn clever. Each and every thread is dependent on and impacts on the other. I did think, could I pull that subplot from the film and it still work? No. Each thread plays its independent notes, but there's this intricate crossover, creating harmonious chords. This really is a clever piece of movie storytelling, with some razor-sharp dialogue that deservedly won Best Screenplay at Sundance in 2013. The film is ultimately all about voices. Professionals using false voices of authority to impress and sell products, and regular people finding their real voice to define themselves. Lake Bell commented in an interview with trifecta.com, "I'm interested in fallible characters. Writing comes from what you know and what you observe, and so to have these people taking on these fantasy voices and being so discombobulated in their own lives is great fodder for comedy. And at the end of the day, voiceover is fantasy-driven for the listener as well as the doer." A final thought. Is it just me, or is there more than just a hint of the better efforts of Woody Allen in there? The exasperating conflicts and the clashes where truth is about the last thing spoken by anyone. Just putting that out there for discussion. End.